So this is a really crappy ceiling fan that was in my house, and it's not going to get used because it's ugly and filthy, and I don't even know if it works. And if I do put a ceiling fan back in my kitchen, it sure as hell isn't going to be this one. But what can I do with this thing? Well, that's what I'm going to try to figure out. First thing I'm going to do is yank it down. Okay, so I've got that all down. Now, anybody watching this, if you're doing anything like this, make sure you have the power turned off. If you didn't know that ahead of time, you probably shouldn't be touching anything to do with electricity. But this particular light fixture, the power that was supplying it has been completely disconnected. An entirely new service panel has been put in, so there is no possibility that there's electricity going to this. If you don't know that for sure, don't touch an electrical circuit. You got to make sure that the power is turned off. Double check yourself with a meter. If you don't know how to double check yourself with a meter, you probably shouldn't be working on electrical stuff. Next step that we're going to undertake is this. This is part of trying to use up that the bits and bobs that I took off of that light fixture. This is a very old chunk of, I believe, maple, and dug it up out of a pile of stuff that my neighbor has. And gonna see if I can get it cleaned up some in my lovely basement shower here. We'll see how that goes. This is Anya. She's a sweetie. It's gonna get wet down here. You might want to run away. So what I've done here is just taken the sockets from that old fixture on the ceiling fan, and I've added this little piece of 1/4-inch pipe, and then that feeds through here. Oop, there we go. Then that just gets held on with a nut and a little washer. These are very fine threads, so you want to make sure you get them started correctly, because it's very easy to cross thread them and strip them. I'm going to try this nut the other way around, see if it works any better. Okay, that feels pretty good. Okay, that's all set. Now I've taken my mason jars and drilled a hole with a step drill through that, cleaned up just a smidge with a file, and then that is going to go like that. And I will add a couple of screws to hold this in place so that nothing spins while this, while you're trying to put the jars, take the jars on and off to change the light bulbs. Almost done with my mason jar light fixture here. Just want to tidy up these wires. Just got some little clips from the store. I just want to make sure that everything fits down in this channel and that nothing gets squished when you're installing it on the wall. The leads for that on out. Okay. Just make sure I don't put a nail through the wire. I've got my wires all tidied up, and the last step is actually securing these rings so that when you try to unscrew the jar to change the bulb, the ring doesn't spin. And I've got these set so that when they tighten up, they face a certain way. I've got, you know, the ball logo facing up, the fruit motif facing up, the ball, you know, and so I want them to land a certain way when you tighten up. So I need to make sure that this ring stays in the exact spot that it's in. Put a little dot on top here so that I know how they match up. The jar off. Just a smidge. Bulb out. Then I'm using these little self-drilling sheet metal screws, basically. They're the perfect length, and they're super easy to use. With these short little screws, I have to push down really hard with the drill and spin it pretty slow. Otherwise, it'll strip out the wood super quick. There's not a lot of threads on these screws. This isn't really holding anything on, it's just preventing it from rotating. So I'm not too worried about that. 4 of these screws is probably 4 times as many as I need, but that way, if one does get stripped, there's 3 others to take its place. Okay, now, the little rubber bit that Ball puts on their lids is super grippy and sticky because, you know, you want the jar to stick, the lid to stick to the jar. Well, I don't want the lid to stick to the jar because I want it to be easy to change the bulbs. And so I'm putting a little bit of grease. This is just plumber's grease because it happened to be sitting right here next to where I was working, and I was lazy and didn't feel like looking for any other kind of grease. You think so? Oh, come here, honey. You can help. back in. Sorry. There you have it. Got one more to do, and I'm done. Thanks for the help, honey. So here we have the old mason jar light fixture. I've got my mounting hardware that I'm going to use to put it in, and I'm about ready to head over to the customer's house to install it. Need to make sure I have all the stuff I need. Gonna have to drill some holes to match up with where the studs are to mount this, because this thing's, it's substantial. Probably, I don't know, weighs a good 10 pounds. I've got my wires all neatly in order, just my hot and my neutral. Just need to hook those up. Let's see. What do you think, honey? Do you think it's good on you? I think it is. So, this is the destination of, the destiny, I should say, of that old crappy ceiling fan that I had in my kitchen. I put very little money into this. The board that this is made out of is an old sawmill board. There's sawmill marks and powder post beetles, and of course my furnace kicks on, so you guys get to listen to that. So I took the board, I cleaned it, I treated it with borax, and then I just saturated it with a water-based polyurethane, so that if there are any live powder post beetle larvae in this board, they're dead now. It's one thing you have to be careful of when reusing old salvage wood like this, is it could possibly be just chock full of bugs, and you don't want to create an infestation in one of your customers' houses, because that would really piss them off. Anyway, everything came out really nice. I like the way the jars look, and I think this is going to look really cool in the old farmhouse bathroom that I'm about to install it in. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to cover on this. I don't think there is. I think that's about it. Not exactly the most original light fixture. It's not. I'm definitely not the first person to stuff light bulbs in mason jars. The LEDs are nice because they produce very little heat. The little bit of grease I put on these things makes it nice and easy to remove and replace these. I think all in all, it's going to be a nice light fixture for my customer. So let's go put it in. I've got my light fixture here on the vanity, and I'm going to be installing it up here. So the first thing I need to do is find the studs. And I think I've got one right here. Yep, there's a good one. So, should be 16 inches away as the next one, but this is an old farmhouse. It could be anywhere. But we're going to try 16 first. What do you know? My yardstick here has a little level bubble in the middle, so I know that I'm drilling holes where once I have my light fixture up, they won't be seen. Right there, nice. And it should be one right there. Nice. So I know my studs are 16 inches apart. So that's a good thing. Now I need to transfer these measurements to my light fixture. And my light fixture is exactly 5 feet long. And this mirror is 5 feet and 3/4 of an inch here. Eight inches in from the end. Minus 3/4 of an inch, so 7 1/4 in from the end of my board. Okay, I can do that. I'm not trusting my eye. Today, because I'm old and tired and 1/4 of an inch off with my eye. 7 3/4. So that's exactly 7 inches. Still can make it. All right. So 7 3/4. And I figured this was 3/4 of an inch longer, so okay. So 7 3/4 minus, wait. I was told there would be no math. 7 3/4 I want to split the difference. So yeah, 7 3/8 should put me right there. Let's see if that works. So once I get my first measurement, then just bang, 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 16 inches apart, and I should be golden. All right, I want to go, how far in do I want to go? An inch is what I want. So, And I'm hitting a whole 2x4, so if I'm a little bit off, shouldn't be a big deal. I'm trying to poke holes in here to mark my drill holes, but I've also got all kinds of powder post beetle holes to confuse matters. Okay, now 1, 2, 3, 4. Two, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, 8 screws, more than enough to hold this. Oh. The only thing holding this up right now is the ground wire, which I'm perfectly happy with. I think. Yeah, that's looking good. So, now I want to connect the electrical up here. So let's see if that's gonna stay nicely. There should be absolutely no power going through these wires, but I am going to take no chances. There's always weird things people do with shared neutrals, and that is nothing. Excellent. Check hot to ground. Nothing. Never trust somebody else's wiring, and often don't trust your own. I'm going to go ahead and throw all the light bulbs back in. Just because this thing's a pain to get in and out. That all checks out. Get one screw at least started. Oh. Getting ahead of myself. I don't have my fixture centered. Okay, I think that looks good. Let's see if I planned it out so I hit the studs. Oh yeah. Okay, let's set that end down. Hey, it still works. What, that's not level? Okay, that's easy enough to do. The level says it's level, but this doesn't look right. 2 inches there. Over 2 1/4. Okay, so that's not going to work. And this mirror is hard mounted, so I need to make it match the mirror, not the planet. All right, what's the easiest way to do this? Well, I lost my bit, so there it is. Okay, I'm gonna go this way. Two and 3/4, 1 3/4. Come on, read the tape measure, idiot. 1 3/4. 1 3/4. Got that up to 2. 2. 2 inches. 2 inches it is. Felt like it moved. 2 1/8. Yep, move a 1/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna start that over again. That measures right. Looks good. Okay, that's where it's going. Lost a finish washer somewhere. Need to find it. Okay, but we will. Found it. Zzz. No, it works fine. Excellent. Looks like a pretty decent light for hair and makeup, don't you think? Might be a little warm. Might need to be a cooler color temperature, but hey, that's up to the customer. They can buy different bulbs. There you have it.